Hello, good evening tonight. And tonight we're going to have a show dealing with foreclosure. So call some people, let them know that tonight's going to be about foreclosure and what's going on, and get your pencil. We'll have a lot of information for you. But before I get started tonight, first thing I want to, we have a lot of great people in our community doing great things. And one of the unsung heroes to me is Sam Guy. He does a lot. He's a humble man, and tonight's show is dedicated to Sam Guy for all the great things that he do. He's been having some great shows. I learned so much last week when he had the basketball coach on from UD, and just all the things that he do. And he's so humble about it, and so unassuming. But Sam, the show is dedicated to you tonight, and keep doing great things because we appreciate you. And a lot of people, if they haven't let you know, we're letting you know tonight that we appreciate all the things that you do for our community. And you make me so proud. And I call him, and he gives you a lot of information, but he does it so humbly. And so tonight's show is dedicated to Sam Guy, attorney Sam Guy. And don't let me, disrespect, attorney Sam Guy. Also, the union, my name is Julius Cephas. I'm president of Local 1694-1, where we have many unions at the Port of Wilmington, and I think all of them are doing a great job. I'm just one of many at the Port of Wilmington. We signed our contract a couple days ago. Some of the issues and concerns we had with full-time positions and all that's been straightened out. So I want to thank my committee, the negotiation team, the executive board, who did a great job. I want to thank the Port's negotiation team. And, again, we get a chance to breathe, go back into negotiations next year. But again, I just want to thank everybody and thank everybody for all the support that y'all give the Port of Wilmington. Matter of fact, it's a lot of work down at the Port right now. They're working tonight. They'll be working probably all night tonight. And again, just want to just thank everybody. But tonight, the show, again, is about foreclosures and losing your house or getting ready, because a lot of us are only a paycheck away from being out on the street ourselves. And I have some great guests. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves before we get into some questions. And I know this young lady for a long time because my grandfather lived in Rosegate, and she lived right across the street and in Rosegate. But I'll let her introduce herself, and I'll let everybody introduce herself, and then we'll come back with some questions. Go ahead.
Certainly. Thank you, Julius. First of all, I'd like to thank you for having us on, providing this opportunity for us to share this important information. My name is Octavia Penny Dryden, and I am the Executive Director of Community Housing and Empowerment Connections, Inc.
And my name is Robin Brown, a victim of foreclosure.
And my name is Ken Dryden of Minority Workforce Development Coalition. Thank you.
Okay. One of the first questions I want to ask, Penny, what do you do? What does your company do? What do you do? What's the name of your company, and what do you do?
Community Housing and Empowerment Connections, Inc. Do multiple things. I speak initially about the substance abuse and violence prevention. We work with evidence-based programs, and we provide skills to young people on how to stay off the drugs or how to not get into the violent behavior. In addition to that, we do advocacy for fair housing. And so that's how we got involved with this housing foreclosure about a little over a year and a half ago, when this was brought to my attention that, what was going on. At that point, I think it was right around 11,000 victims. And as the number grew and I began to investigate, I knew that I was obligated to get involved.
Now, let me ask you a question. What is subprime mortgage? What does that mean? What's that?
So it's a mortgage that is given by the bank at a rate that is much higher than a prime, than normal. So it's unfairly, distributed to people who should have gotten a prime mortgage, a lower mortgage rate.
Well, can you answer, why were the mortgages so attractive to so many people?
Well, it's obvious that everybody wants to own a home. That's obvious. It's American dream. And we depend on our banking agencies to guide us through a process that will allow us to own a home, but to do so legally. So what has happened here, there were some illegal processes taking place that caused people to get loans that they could not afford.
Okay. Now, here, I mean, okay, as far as the brokers, why do you think they was allowed to sell it if it was illegal?
Well, that part I have no idea, Julius, other than bankers or these financial agencies are in business to earn money. And so this, I would think, was an opportunity for them to earn money at somebody else's cost.
Now, I'm going to pass this to everybody. Okay, what was the cause of the housing collapse?
Well, I think that's a multifaceted work, and anybody can chime in if you like. But I think there were many reasons for the collapse. The deceit that banks put forth, I mean, in other words, the processes, as I mentioned before, were not legal. They were improper. So that would be one of the main ones. And then when they calculated people's income, they may have used overtime. Well, overtime pay. Well, you won't get overtime for 12 months out of the year. So if that's the income that you measured it by, then obviously when overtime was not available, you were going to run into a problem. So it was a lot of different variables that caused it.
I'd just like to piggyback off that, if I
Go
can,
ahead.
Julius. Your question was, what do we believe caused the collapse? And one of the things in our assessment that we found out, Julius, was that first and foremost, we need a fair financial system that treats everyone the same. So, and what I mean by that, Julius, is in our assessments, we found out that if there was a system in place that intentionally did predatory lending, and not just predatory lending, but purposely set up a false financial system. And what we also found out is that it was concentrated in the African American area. Now that took a lot of, there's some reports out there, but for a system to be out here, a finance system where we go into the bank and expect to pay a fair and reasonable price just like anybody coming through the door, and you have a system whereby it's not working in our favor that way, then there's a problem. And so we would hope that in this process, in what we're aiming to do here, that maybe we'll be able to build a bridge or something that will put in place a fair system.
Okay, let me, before I go to you, Robin.
Everybody.
And you were saying that it was just targeting African Americans. Okay, the racial breakdown of homeless population, okay, is the African American is 50%, the whites 35%, Hispanics 12%, Native American 2%, Asian 1%. So part of it look like they're getting everybody. We always get more, but it seems like they're getting everybody as far as the racial breakdown. For this is what I got from the statistics, the homeless population for 2014.
Well, let me just comment
Yes.
on that. As we did our research, we learned that it depends on who did the study.
Okay.
Okay, so there's different numbers in different places. But you mentioned homelessness.
Right.
Okay, now people can be homeless without ever owning a home.
Right.
So
This is
those
true.
numbers are tied into that.
Okay.
We are looking at foreclosed homes. Those homeowners, where did they end up? So when we looked at those numbers, we found that out of every 100 African Americans, 76% of them were foreclosed on. So that means 76 people out of 100. And the Hispanics, the number was 71%.
Okay.
So out of every 100, 71. And when we looked at the Caucasian population, it was always 3 or 4 times less.
Okay.
So if you want to gauge it, it's probably
All right,
better to
that's-
gauge it that way.
That's why we're here. Now, Robin, this young lady, I mean, we go way back. Robin, matter of fact, we got hired in Amtrak in 1980. And so it's good to see Robin. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with you and your situation.
Well, by the grace of God, we are in another home
Okay.
and didn't have to go to be put out on the street or whatever. But it still stands. When it happened to my family. My husband worked for Chrysler. I worked for Amtrak. I was diagnosed in 2005 with multiple sclerosis. And then, as you know, Chrysler shut down. They closed the plant. And we were left calling the bank to ask, this is happening to my husband. What can we do? And they said, you're not far enough behind. Really? How far do you have to be behind? Well, we found out quick, fast, in a hurry that they wasn't going to help. We would call every month, not far enough behind. I'm trying not to be behind on my mortgage. So there you go.
I want Ivan to play a clip, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty of everything. And this senator is Elizabeth Warren, and she really, a Harvard grad, she really crushed them. So Ivan, can you play that clip? And we're gonna come back and get into the nitty-gritty, because some of these bankers should be in jail.
Right now.
People steal a pocketbook, they get 10 years. These people destroy lives. Billions and billions of families are out and nothing's done. Ivan, can you play that clip real quick?
Evidence in your files of illegal activity, I take it, for some of these banks. I get that from the evidence you've released about the charts, who's going to get paid what. So if someone believes that they have been illegally foreclosed against, will they still have a right under this settlement to bring a lawsuit against the bank?
Yes.
All right. Now, if a family wants to bring the lawsuit, you're both lawyers, would it be helpful, if you're going against one of these big banks, would it be helpful for these families to have the information about their case that's in your files? Mr.
Yes.
Ashton?
It would be helpful, obviously, to have information related to the injury. Yes, it would.
Okay. So do you plan to give the families this information? That is, those families that have been victims of illegal foreclosures, will you be giving them the information that's in your possession about how the banks illegally foreclosed against them? Mr. Ashton?
I think that's a decision that we're still considering. We haven't made a final decision yet.
So you have made a decision to protect the banks, but not a decision to tell the families who were illegally foreclosed against?
We haven't made a decision about what information we would provide to individuals. That's true, yes.
Mr. Stepana?
We're in the same position.
So I just want to make sure I get this straight. Families get pennies on the dollar in this settlement for having been the victims of illegal activities or mistakes in the bank's activities. You let the banks, and you now know individual cases where the banks violated the law, and you're not going to tell the homeowners, or at least it's not clear yet whether or not you're going to do that?
We haven't made a decision on what we're going to tell the homeowners.
You know, I just have to say, I thought this was about transparency. That's what this is all about. People want to know that their regulators are watching out for the American public, not for the banks. And the only way that we can evaluate whether or not you're doing your job is if you make some of this information publicly available. And so far, you're not doing that. And without transparency, we can't have any confidence either in your oversight or that the markets are functioning properly at all. So, and that people are going to receive proper compensation for what went wrong. You now have evidence in your files.
Okay, again, I hope everybody understands what's going on now, and the senator right here, she was on top of it, and you know, billions and billions of monies, you know, they was crooks. Basically, they was crooks, and they got away with it, and they admitted, and they got a fine, and pennies on a dollar, and my thing is this: no bank executive went to jail. You know, and one congresswoman, she told everybody that you don't have to leave, you don't have to move out your house, because if the banks don't have your deed, they can't put you out. And nobody knew that a few years back, and she exposed it. She was a real estate lawyer. So, but there's a lot of information out there, you know, but a lot of people are not helping, they're not helping us. I know the Attorney General won some money. I guess they were found guilty and they paid a fine. And I think they're talking about affordable housing and all that. How do you feel about the money that the Attorney General getting, and what do you think they're doing? You think they're doing enough to help?
Well, I like to first make this comment. There are the 49 attorney generals throughout the country filed a lawsuit. They won it, as you said, and the settlement was that. With that settlement, there were some terms. And so we're simply asking, you know, look at the terms. There were terms such as restitution for victims and relief services for those who were impacted the most by the foreclosure misconduct. So that's pretty clear. But for now, the attorney generals to be creating these mediation programs within their offices and these crime strategies units, to me, that doesn't tie. It doesn't meet the terms of the settlement. So in and of that, I think there's a problem. I'm deeply concerned about it, and that's why I'm fighting, because there are 32,000 victims in Delaware. That's a crisis. Usually when there's a crisis, people gather around that crisis and help those people. But here in Delaware, there has been nothing. And it's another sad situation when you get a representative, a U.S. representative from another state to speak up on our behalf, on victims' behalf in Delaware. So there's much work to be done in Delaware, and we have committed ourselves, and we are not going to stop until we get what is rightfully due to these 32,000.
So what do you think about them using that money for housing, fair housing, affordable housing? What about HUD? What's some of the solutions that you think that can help? And anybody, again, Robin, you were a victim of this. What do you think some of the things that should have been done to help you?
Help me, my husband, our family. We had to find a place to live. And we had to do it in, like, we knew it was coming. But where are you going to go with your credit messed up? And nobody wants to rent a place out to someone, your credit's messed up due to the foreclosure mess up. And it can go quick. My thing is, you know, you lived one place, you're forcing people to live where they didn't start out at. How are you going to take money and get part of it to the foreclosure victims if they find low-income housing? I lived in Newark. You've seen the house I lived in. Why do I have to find low-income housing? Why should anybody have to find low income? You should be able to live where you want to live, not where the state tell you.
Yeah, I think some people
to live.
was telling the banks to readjust instead of putting people out. work something out and reduce the payments. And certain states was
Yes.
doing that.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
Okay.
go ahead. But that I think that's one thing that they needed to do was instead of the house sitting vacant and dropping everybody, just let the people stay in there and reduce the mortgage. And also I want all of y'all to talk about balloon mortgage. And a lot of people are like, your mortgage right now might be $700. Then later on it's $2,000. I want y'all to talk about both of them.
but before I go to
Ju-
that,
Yeah.
can I just comment about what is now being proposed for the money?
Go ahead.
Okay. You've heard the Attorney General's office indicate that there should be overtime money for police officers in Wilmington. There should be substance abuse treatment. There should be after-school programs. I think these are very good initiatives. I think it's needed. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's not the appropriate use for the settlement dollars. There are terms set in place for those dollars. And there are plenty of victims out there that need these services. My agency had put forth a proposal to the Joint Finance Committee, to the General Assembly, indicating that we will provide programs to expunge the foreclosure credit. We will put forth programs that will educate and outreach to those 32,000 victims, because you still have victims who don't have a clue what happened. So that's a tragedy. That we have an obligation as community leaders, as elected officials, to do all of those things I just listed. But we have people saying nothing, and we have to depend on a representative from Pennsylvania, and now the Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Do you think, because when people have crises, sometimes they self-medicate, and everybody understand what I mean self-medicate. Do you think when this crisis hit that people started drinking more, doing more drugs, doing more self-medication?
That may be a possibility, but you have to do some work first. There's a process you need to go through. Make your assessment to determine that's what's needed. I don't think the Attorney General or the state at large know what these 32,000 people need, because you haven't done an assessment. Do the work. Go through the process. Assess those 32,000 once you find them. There's work to be done to find them. Then if you determine that they need substance abuse intervention, prevention, treatment, if you find that to be the case, then you have a victim service program. But to make a global, we're just going to throw money out there and, anybody that does substance abuse treatment can apply. They haven't, who they're going to serve? They need to target those 32,000. And that's what Community Housing Empowerment Connections is doing, and they're working with the victims that stand against foreclosure everywhere. That's an organization of victims who.
Now, are they going down? Are they going to legislation hall with you? Because I know in Dover, I know the people. I say it all the time. The people who organize get things done, and a lot of times people don't want to come out. But if they needed 32,000 people and their families need to write letters, send emails, but they need to force these politicians to do their job.
Right.
And and I know most of them, and I got a lot of respect for them because, again, I've seen what they can do when people come together and organize. But I was watching one program where most people lost their house. A year or two later, they came back and offered them $2,000. I mean, people already put out their house. And the sad part is the house is sitting vacant.
I'd like to say something on that, Jules. We're an extension of the community. We've been in this community a long time.
Absolutely.
And we are about, and always have been about, helping folks like a lot of folks in Delaware are. When we come in here, I don't know how much research you've done, but I do know how much we've done. When we come in here and tell you that we've met, not only with Matt Dem, but with Bo Biden, we've met with his crime strategy people, protection people there. We've gone down to the General Assembly and spoken with them on this issue. Now, to create or to paint a picture as though those things that you're speaking about now, that they don't matter, policing, education, housing, and all of that, they do matter. The thing is, this is foreclosure. So we want to say when Matt Den and them are saying to whomever they're speaking to, that we want to use the money for that, we've been in this community. The fixing that you're fixing, we know what it is. We don't never get fixed. So we're out here now saying, don't bring us nothing on paper. We're going to fix ourselves. Nothing against what you research. We know about who needs to go down to Legislative Hall. We know, we've even talked to Coons, Senator Coons, about going to Washington with the folks here. We've reached out well beyond this place. So we are folks here who say, look, if when Penny, who has been in this community, when we say we're going to help the victims, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to sit there and just say, you know, we're going to do a land bank.
Okay, let me say this, but I hear what you're saying, but let me say this. The reason why I have you here is so your message can get out. That's, no, okay, but the reason why you're here is because I respect what y'all doing, and I want everybody else to know what's going on. And so part of my research is, you know, to ask questions stuff, but also part of what I do is to get the message out to everybody.
And we got that, and I'm sorry for okay, because I know how much work we really have done and how much pain is really in our community. It's a lot of pain in our community, and it's acted out in these killings. It's acting out. You asked about drinking. Ain't no telling what folks is doing, but for folks to be out on the street with no house, and then you say to them, oh, we went and sued the U.S. government and the banks for their wrongdoing against us. And then to have them to say, oh, by the way, we ain't got nothing for you. Or the program that we're going to put in place, come on.
They have nothing to do with the victims.
And $25 billion, Julius, can make a lot of folk turn a different way and go someplace else and not say nothing.
I agree, because when the housing problem, it affected every community. I think I live in a pretty decent community. I would go around counting for sale signs in my neighborhood. And I mean, it was everywhere. It wasn't, I mean, it was across the board.
Black
It was
folks live
across
everywhere.
the board, and there's a lot of folks out there. My next door neighbor, his home was foreclosed on, okay, and they had to leave and move to North Carolina. And I've reached out to them, and they're still part of this process because it's not over for them yet.
Right.
So I don't want anybody out there who has had their home foreclosed on to think that it's over. The fight is only beginning, and we've committed to this, and we have people joining us every day because people don't know the facts. And we're only here, we're not here to bash anybody, we're just presenting the facts as they are. And it's shameful to say the facts. I'm telling you, it's very shameful.
Well, I even had somebody call you, you know, and they're trying, and a situation, their husband passed away. And some of them have different reasons for being in this situation. You know, her husband passed away, he was, you know, the breadwinner, and they didn't know what to do, so I had them call you, and right now they're looking for a short sale. I really wanted the realtor to come on to talk about the short sale and give a different spin on this, because, you know, it's going to take a little bit of everything.
But Julius, we don't want to lose the thought that the banks intentionally set out to take, now see, one of the ways you can look at this, another way you can look at this is like this too, Julius. There was a time during slavery, a lot of things were stripped of people. Stripped, their wealth, taken away. So now what we're looking at again is when you snatch the wealth from these people again, now you're looking at 4 to 5 generations of poverty once again. And ain't nobody saying nothing about that. But, and what I mean by that is When you take the wealth from the community, from the people, and by the way, I'll go back to what I said, when we did our research, 76% of these folks that were concentrated on were African Americans. And see, nobody wants to really talk about that and talk about this financial system that's done this. We're not talking about because you lost no job. We're not talking about because somebody passed away. We're talking about what the banks did intentionally.
Yeah, but at the same time, and I agree with you, but now we got to find a way to fix it. And again, I still think that realtors and other people who have different skill sets can try to get it fixed. And it's going to take everybody to help get it fixed. We know what the problem is.
And you're right.
And wait a minute, let me say this. We know what the problem is. Now it's the solution. Where do we go? How do we get it fixed? And not forget and deal with what happened. You know what I mean?
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Can you put the number up? Excuse me. Can you put the number up? Can you put the number up? Matter of fact, let's go to a commercial real quick. Okay, well, we're back and we have another guest, and she was a victim, and I'll let her introduce herself and talked about short sales. And again, Ivan, can you put the number up? Okay, go ahead, young lady, and introduce yourself.
My name is Abby Ewing, and myself and my fiance, Thomas Johnson, were victims from Bank of America. We were forced into a short sale because my fiance's job was reduced as far as hours and salary. And we went through a modification program, and because of the set dollar amount that they reduced our mortgage to, because I paid 5 cents additional for the 3 trial payments, they kicked us out of the modification program.
Hello, you on the air?
Hello.
You on the air?
Hey, how you guys doing this evening?
Okay.
I'd like to get some information about the young lady, the man and the woman, their program. I am a victim as well of this, and I was sent letters from the bank back when I was going through the foreclosure a couple of years ago, and to find out that the Attorney General's office got this money and everything, and as a victim of this, I never heard anything else back from the bank as far as money. I know the Attorney General got the money, and
Okay.
I just want to know what someone like me, who fully understands and is a part of that process, can do to help those guys out.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll let her answer the question. Thank you.
Yes.
Certainly, and I've heard so many stories just like that young man just mentioned over the telephone there. But as I mentioned, we're developing and have established the victims stand against foreclosure everywhere, V-Safe. And I ask that people email me, and that will be drydenp2015@gmail.com, or telephone 302-275-4709.
All right, you on the air. You got a question?
Yes, I want to commend the panel first of all for doing their work, but I do got a couple of things I'd like the panel to talk about. One thing that we got to do as people, as African Americans, a lot of us bought houses that we couldn't afford. I mean, we went to the banks, took these ALMs that were at 1.5%, 2%, and then when the interest rates went up, the payments became out of reach for us, and subsequently we end up in foreclosure. And you know, we can't always blame it on the banks when we want more than we can afford. It's not always predatory lending when we decide to go after more than we can handle. And we got to learn to do a better job and stand within our means and not living outside of what we can afford. I mean, when I bought my house, I had a choice of an ALM at a certain level and a fixed rate. And the fixed rate was a little high, but I knew it was a payment that I could manage. And we can't always say that when we lose jobs and things like that happen, other variables in the equation that causes for problems. But some of that's not predatory lending. Some of it is that we got to learn how to be more sensible in terms of applying. And we can't let the Attorney General off the hook. I noticed nobody don't want to say anything about the amount of money that they got for people who were victims of that, and that the Attorney General's office is hoarding that money when new checks should be written out to the people who they got that money for. And I'll just hang up and listen to you.
Hold up, Calvin. I also want to say I appreciate your call, but I want to have you back because I haven't forgot you and Copeland when y'all beat me up pretty good, so I haven't forgot that. I need a rematch. But thank you. Okay. Go ahead. You on the air?
Julius, you told me to hold up.
Yeah, I just want to say I want to get you and Copeland back on TV because I haven't forgot when y'all beat me up. All right.
Okay, brother.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, Jules, I just wanted to answer Calvin's question. He's correct. There are times when you do have to know more about the predatory lending and what you're getting yourself into. But what we're talking about here is where the banks have been found to be in wrong against people.
Right.
So we're talking about something totally different. This is where the banks, they know have been have had misconduct.
Hello, you on the air?
Hi, I have a question about your property being forced over to the not really forced over, being carried over to the children if the parents passed away, and the property is turned over to the children, and that property is in foreclosure. Does this program help out with any information like that?
I'm going to turn that over to Penny because that's out of my pay grade. Thank you, though.
Well, no, I don't get into that. We're basically focusing now on the victims, people who had already been foreclosed
Who can
on.
she? Do you know anybody that she might be able to call?
I would send her back to the Attorney General's office and probably to the Delaware State Housing Authority.
Okay. Hello, you on the air?
Hey, Julius, old buddy, James Thomas calling you, man. You forgot all about me.
Man, I love you, James. How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I've been listening to your show, man. You forgot all.
No, I didn't, man. I'm just so, look, man, you taught me a lot, and I'm proud of you, man. But you
Hey, congratulations, man, on getting married. You finally done it.
Yeah, James. Okay, but look, listen. Thank you. But do you have a question? I'm gonna stop by and see you. You got a question?
No, I'm just wanted to holler at you, Julius. I hadn't talked to you in a while.
All right, man. I love you. You and the family. Thanks, James. This guy here, they raised me. I worked for the Wood Department. I was like 23, and they took me underneath their wing, and that mentoring, it means a lot. You know what I
Certainly
mean?
does.
Okay, I'm gonna get you. Okay. Wait a minute, you on the air?
Hey, Jude, good program.
How you doing, Herman?
All right, Penny, let me turn my TV on first of all. Penny, this is Herman, and
Hi, Herman.
to you and Kenny and to the committee that's working on this, I think you're doing a fantastic job. Secondly, I want to say that has there been any other meetings where you've asked folks to join you to sit and talk and really have a good, clear understanding about what is going on with this? I know you've been to the General Assembly, you went to the Joint Finance and made a presentation or something because we talked about it. But has there been any meeting that you've called in the community or asked anybody to pull together, help you pull it together to discuss this?
Herman, to answer your question, early on, we did, before we started out here, we reached out to several, I sent emails to all the elected officials, community leaders, and asked for some support. And we got very little response. Yourself, you were responsive to this. Senator Henry was responsive, but nothing really concrete came out of it. But
Okay, Herman, she's gonna answer your question. Okay, go ahead.
so we that's the extent of it. So we didn't get any real help. People wanted to put boots on the ground and get the work done.
Okay. Okay, the phone is jumping. Okay. Hello, you on the air?
Yes, good evening.
Good
Yes,
evening.
my name is Charlie. Julius, the banks are still doing that. Bank of America and Wells Fargo, you go to people goes to refinance their home. There's no borrowing, but there's no borrowing minorities, and the appraisers work for the banks. So the banks are still doing the same thing they did before.
Okay, thank you.
And he's absolutely
you.
right. He's absolutely right.
And again, and this is what this show is all about, is to expose, to get more momentum and continue to put it out there in the front so everybody can know. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, I have a question for the panelists. I wanted to know if you thought that the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act has actually gone far enough to improve accountability and transparency in the big banking system that we have today. And would you support a public bank and more regulation of the banks in general?
Well, I didn't hear all of her question, but she mentioned.
Can you say it one more time?
A public banking system that's not tied to the big banking system that has a lot of the money into the stock market, and that the money would be more accountable to the public instead of the financial system that caused the collapse in 2008.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with all of the banking industry and how that all works, but I think it's worth looking into. I think if they get a pool of people together who are experts in the field to look at more effective ways to extend these loans. I think Kenny mentioned earlier about the bridges. We need a bridge into this.
And I think we need to bring everything together. We need to deal with the bank institutions. We need to be able to regulate regulators. It's everything needs to be tied in because again, it's not one problem.
That's
because
right.
they're getting these rules passed for somebody's helping them get these bills passed. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, I have a question about those homeowners that were working through Acorn and actually was going through the foreclosure process, but because of the situation with Acorn, they all just lost their homes through foreclosure, and there was no recourse for them to take after that. Has anybody looked into that?
Okay, answer the question. Thank you.
I'm not really familiar with what you're saying.
And right there, Julius, is kind of piggybacking off what Penny said, was as you go on, your program and your services may look like this today, but after folks come in and you begin to hear these stories, you can develop even more programs with the help of folks sitting down and us talking. But I wanted to say this, Julius, that the lawmakers are going back to work on Tuesday, and they're going to be voting on on how to spend that settlement dollars. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that, if it's okay.
Hey, look,
okay.
This is Community Crossfire. Everything's on the table.
Okay.
So.
They're going to be discussing how to spend or distribute that $36 million.
Right.
And right now, it's very important that we understand that $36
hold
million,
off 1 second.
that money be used in the way that it's supposed to be used. The victims have not received anything, and right now they still remain distressed.
Okay. No, like this Community Crossfire, you talk about anything. Okay. Hold, you on the air?
Yes, I just have a question. Is there anything at all that you can do if you are, and we haven't been served yet for we put in for modification a couple different times when we were at Bank of America. Bank of America sold our mortgage to Capital One. Now you say hold on?
Yeah, and right now they still remain distressed.
Come on, you on the air, babe.
Hi. I just want to know if there's anything that we can do to avoid foreclosure on our house. We've been through everything. We put in for modification multiple times, got denied, called about the drop program. That wasn't something, because we had a second mortgage, and we haven't been served with papers yet, but I know that they are going to be serving those papers soon, and we're going to end up going to foreclosure. We are in the middle of a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, but they've pulled everything out. The house is out of the bankruptcy at this point.
Okay,
And the bankruptcy court allowed them to do that.
I'm gonna let Penny in the panel answer it. Thank you. But one thing before you answer, Penny, I think that there should be a number where people can call you, and you should get a coalition of people, and I think you'll get the support, and I think you'll get what you're looking for to help these people. I think if you organize, because the phone is, as you can see. But go ahead and answer the other lady. You might want to put your number up there that the way you can contact you.
You want me to just say it and he'll put it up there?
Yeah,
or?
you can do that too.
Phone number is area code 302-275-4709.
Hello, you on the air?
Hi, thank you. I just have a question for the panelists about the homeowner who had difficulty finding a place to live. She didn't mention anything about bankruptcy, but she knew that no one would accept her credit after the foreclosure, and I knew she was putting an application for housing. And I think it would have protected her and opened up more possibilities for her if she would have filed for bankruptcy and it was discharged.
Thank you. That information is important because I'm quite sure you got a lot of other people who are in the same situation. Thank you so much.
Can I say something?
Yes, sure.
To answer a lot of the questions, when my fiance and I went through this, we had 6 children and 3 grandchildren that were affected. And because of the credit situation, we had to then find housing using our kids as the basis for the credit. We now live in 2 separate houses, and our rent combined would have been 2 times of what our mortgage was. One caller was talking about, the modification. They only allow you to have 3 modifications the lifetime of your mortgage. And like I said, we applied for the modification 3 and 4 times. We've paid outside companies who have taken advantage of us up to $10,000 between 3 different companies to come to find out that they did us wrong. And so we were forced into this. It's sad. It really is sad.
It's criminal.
And so not only does it affect your livelihood, but it affects your family. You have kids that are homeless in a sense, and
Hold on. Go ahead.
they're going to different schools, or you're not wanting them to go to different schools because they're not in the neighborhood where their friends are. It affects the whole household. The whole household is sick. The whole household is sick, and this affects everyone. And they're not looking at that.
Okay. Go ahead, you on the air.
Hi, yes, I had just called in a few minutes ago and didn't seem to get any answers. I've already talked to somebody about the drop program, and I just need to know if there's anything else out there available to avoid foreclosure, because it's getting close. We're going to be served soon, and we don't want to lose our house.
Kenny.
The denied modification.
Okay. Kenny said the legislators are going to be in Dover when?
They go back in session on Tuesday.
When do they vote on it?
Don't know, but they will be. We're assuming that they will be voted on in the near future.
What I would do, the number that Ms. Dryden gave out, I will call her. When they go down to Legislation Hall to talk to the legislators, it needs to be a busloads of people. Y'all need to go down Dover, and I got faith in the legislators. I've seen what they can do. And y'all need to get together, and y'all need to go down Dover as a group, and I believe y'all can get some things done. And like I said, I've seen the great work that the legislators have done. Everybody said the port was a sole done deal, this, that, and I can go on and on. So
I talked to Ms. Dryden. She returned a call, and we talked for a while on the phone about things. It hadn't escalated to the point it is right now at that point, and we weren't eligible for the drop because it was just another loan that was going to be put on, lien against the house, and that would be 3. You can't do that, obviously, with the program. So, you know, we're just trying to find something.
Let me just respond.
Okay. She wants to answer your question, but I will go down Dover too, though.
Yeah, my
Okay.
response is we're advocating for the same thing that you're advocating. We have not yet been, we don't have the resources. But when I speak to people, what I try to do is encourage them. You have some options. The AG's office provide programs. They said this is what they're funded to do. So that's the only thing I can do is refer you. We're dealing with people who have already lost their homes. And we're fighting for programs and services such as credit expungement.
Hello, you on the air.
Hi, Julia, State Representative Charles Potter Jr.
How you doing, Charles?
I wanted to let you know I've been watching this show, and it's very painful. But I want the people to understand that we as the legislators are taking a serious look at this situation. And I believe that all the money from the foreclosure settlement should go to the people and the victims.
And the victims.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you. And again,
And you're right. You know, the Joint Finance did not approve what Matt Dent has done thus far. So there's an opportunity to make things right.
Yes,
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And this is what I'm talking about. A lot of people, you have to organize, and Ms. Dryden is doing an excellent job, but you have to support her and don't leave her out there by herself, because she's only as good as her team. And if y'all go in great numbers, I can guarantee you that things will get done. And I've seen the legislators come through time and time again. But the community is 32,000. That means it should be 62, because y'all got family members. And y'all all should be in Dover Legislation Hall. And I guarantee you will get their attention.
Absolutely.
And
Hello, you on the air.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just needed the number for the bankruptcy for the foreclosure. Who do I contact?
Look on the screen right now.
I don't have channel 28. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. 275-4709. 27. Come on, baby. Come on now. 275.
Someone got it for me. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay. I got to wrap it up again. I want to say thank you to the panel. And I hope, again, that we can do more shows on this. This is just the beginning. And I'm sorry I didn't get through all the questions. And again, Penny, I will hope you come back. I would like to see you. I would turn over some of my time and let you host the show. And I would do that. But again, I want to thank everybody. And again, the night show was dedicated to Sam Guy. You're doing an excellent job. Thank you and good night.